Sister Guadalupe, thank you very much for connecting with us from United States. Good morning.
Good morning.
We invite you to share with us a reflection on the theme of the UISG plenary, which will start in March and it will end in July. And the theme is embracing vulnerability in the synodal journey. So how do you resonate with the theme of our plenary?
Well, thank you for having me here. I feel very honored and privileged. I resonate with it very, very deeply because I do desire to work towards wholeness instead of splintering and division, especially being aware of my reality here in the United States, the insurrection at the Capitol last year, the COVID and its variants, with deaths and schools closing, children at home, businesses closing. We're experiencing a deep vulnerability as a whole nation and also in the whole world. We have migration and hunger and people's dignity and safety are no longer there. They're disappearing. Our earth is also crying for mercy and compassion to be embraced because we are the stewards of the earth and yet we're not treasuring it. You know, we've had natural disasters like floods and tornadoes and fires. And so our earth is crying to be embraced in its own vulnerability. We have killings of innocent victims. I think George Floyd's death brought out a whole series of feelings and just deep hurt. So we're really extremely vulnerable. So for me, I ask myself, what does it mean to go deeper? How can we identify with the crucified Christ? And in that identification and in our own passion, seek mercy, seek compassion. And so, because we usually run from vulnerability, we don't want to be naked. We don't want to be exposed. It's not our friend. And yet the sharing that and embracing it can bring us all to humility and deeper compassion and really true connection, which is what we really need.
Thank you, Sister Guadalupe. I think that other sisters will resonate with your words throughout the world. I'm sorry for the echo.
That's okay.
When do you experience vulnerability in your personal life?
Oh, I have a lot of examples. One of them is that I have glaucoma in both eyes. And so for the past year and a half, I have night blindness, so I cannot drive at night. So I have to rely on my sisters when we have late meetings, or I have to rely on parishioners when I need a ride to go give workshops. And so I have arthritis in both knees and in my back, so I need help climbing steps when there's no rail. So even in my body is very vulnerable. However, I have also experienced it in the lives of others, not just my own. So it makes me not think about myself and not be worrying about aches and pains, but always look forward, always keep my eyes focused on mission. And so then I don't have to think about what I'm lacking.
Thank you for your testimony. And which is the vulnerability that you touch, that you can see around you, around your reality? You also mentioned some at the beginning. Would you like to add something?
Well, in my ministry with our own elder sisters, I am being converted because they are the vulnerable ones among us. And such great women that now have to experience a deep need and a letting go, losing their autonomy, and needing for the rest of us to journey with them. So that's very important to me. And I'm hoping that I grow deeper in love with them as I journey with them. I also coordinate a Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry program in Spanish with the University of Incarnate Word for Hispanic, especially immigrant women who are trying to get their degree so they can serve in parish ministry. And they're very vulnerable. They don't understand all the structures of education and how mechanisms work in this country. They lack finances, yet their spirit is so committed and they're right in there. And so I try to mentor them at the same time that I direct the program. So I work with women especially Hispanic women in pastoral ministry positions, diocesan level, and they experience a lot of challenges because sometimes I don't believe they're valued as they strive to be on equal footing with all the other people in diocesan level. And so I still find that there's very few of us, Mexican American and Hispanics, that are even able to have a voice at that level. So I am concerned, and I put my energies there to enable others, to open paths for others, and also the immigrant women that we see around us, that we try to help in other ways with Catholic charities. And so we're always in mission. We're always looking for a new way to embrace people and to share vulnerability together.
May I ask you,
Mm-hmm.
what are you learning?
What am I learning?
Touching the vulnerability of others. What do you learn?
I am learning the deep compassion and grace that God gives us, the faith, the foundation that faith can bring, and the strength that it also allows us to experience, the determination. I am learning that the human spirit really is unlimited in how we can receive the mercy, the love, in human flesh through others, through one another. I am learning that there is always hope, even amid the tears. When I saw the children separated from their parents at our Texas border, my heart cried. My spirit just became so angry at the whole situation. And in my community, we opened our chapter of affairs 4 years ago with a march downtown in San Antonio as our solidarity with immigrants. We had never done that in that public way. So I am learning that we can still be moved. There is still time, and there is still hope, and there is still love that is all around us. We can breathe it at the same time that we might breathe pollution, but we breathe just the immensity, the magnanimity of God's overarching love. I see it in the clouds. I see it in the nature and the beauty and goodness and truth. I'm learning to hang on to that, believe in it, and be interconnected.
Thank you. Listening to you, I realize how much religious life is changing,
Yes.
Within this experience of COVID, we are learning more about our fragility, but
Yes.
also how to help life to come up from
Yes.
these wounds.
Mhm.
So we can also be a company and accompany other people in this journey.
Mm-hmm.
So you were saying, sister, that your congregation is very small. How many sisters do you have?
We're 26 religious, mostly Mexican American, 99% of us. We are really the first congregation in the U.S. founded principally with Mexican American women, native born.
Good. So you are also open to see it, to perceive the diversity as part of your roots.
Yes, it certainly is. This year we're celebrating our 75th anniversary of our approbation, so we're very happy, but we could not have a big public celebration because of COVID, but we did have a small one. So we're very grateful as a congregation for the blessings, and we're always working with people of other cultures and races. I work at the Mexican American Catholic College in San Antonio, and we have seminarians from various countries. We have deacon candidates, we have lay people from India, Africa, US, Mexico, some of the Latin American countries that come to study here. So I am always immersed in the beauty of diversity. We just have a group here now that is seminarians from St. Meinrad Seminary, and they come every year for an introduction to Hispanic ministry, and they visit our southern border so that they can get a real sense and just be among the climate of all that's going on down there between Texas and Mexico, and how our people are reaching out, and also the people across the border, how we're able to do some collaborative also projects together. Especially the women religious are very present on the Texas border from different congregations. The communities are always sending their sisters to volunteer with Catholic Charities or with accompanying people here in San Antonio to the bus station, being there for them, listening to their stories, making sure that they are not alone, that they know there are people here that do care, and where we can put our best foot forward rather than some of the negative things that we know about our country. But it's another way to give another face to who we are in the United States.
Sister, what it means for you to live on the border?
Well, I don't live on the border. I live about 200 miles from there, but two of our sisters live there and they work there. And I have a lot of connections, both with visiting them and then also visiting the sisters and other congregations. So for me, we feel very close to the border. We're a region that is really all along the southern Texas border, where El Paso is and Monterrey and some of these other, Del Rio, all of these cities are. So I feel the climate of both the tension that maybe we don't always accept the person who is different, and also the grace of, at the same time, we're invited, especially as a church. I see a lot of work among the different denominations. So I see a lot of synodality in that way, that some of us, we don't have a self-interest or a hidden agenda. We just want to do the good. I mean, I feel blessed because I have a sense of it every day, even with our students, because sometimes they want to go home and be at a funeral of one of their relatives and they can't get home because they're not here legal. They don't have the documentation. So we experience their pain. And the parishes here sometimes will provide a special memorial service for their loved ones in order to help them in their grief. Or we have young men that get killed working in a factory way up north in Alaska, and then they have one of their own people accompany them all the way home to Mexico. They take up collections so that this person can be buried. So we have experiences of a lot of vulnerability. We have stories from our people of how they can somehow they surpass that. So that's why I say the human spirit, God has given us an unlimitless fountain of faith, and it is the faith for me that is really keeping us going, and not only survive but thrive. I strive that others may thrive. I believe in power, not only with others but for others. Whatever power I have is mine to give over, as Jesus does. Give it away so that someone else can thrive, and in their eyes, then there is hope for me. If other people have hope, I will have hope, and I will grow in that hope, and it'll be nurtured among us, so that we don't have to always be suffering and always wondering, are we going to make it the next day with our people that are hungry? So I'm learning how to be a Christian. I'm learning how to be a real Christian.
Now, I have just a last question, sister, about this synodality. You
Yes.
mentioned synodality. What do you mean for you? When and how do you experience synodality within your congregation and in your mission?
Well, in our congregation, we share stories. I think synodality happens when there are no barriers. We share stories of how we got to where we are. Laughter to me is a real experience of synodality, because all of us can laugh together. For me, the arts, the music, the ritual is very important for me. That right side of the brain where we're free to express and we're free to imagine. So for me, synodality has a lot to do with how we experience ourselves in the world. So in our community, we share a lot of stories, we sing, we also see how we can work with others, and how we just, I really don't even know how to say it, but that we don't have to worry about having someone there, that we are one even in our differences, that there is a way to witness still to the gospel values, and that women religious will somehow, some way, in some shape or form, always be there. And I think that's Providence. I am a missionary catechist of divine providence. So for me, Providence is always shining especially in the deepest moments. And so we experience it as a congregation when we collaborate also with a lot of other groups, and we have the joy of hearing their stories. And so for me, Synodality is about story. It's about connectedness. And I wish we had a lot of spiritual directors on the committees for Synodality, because they can lead us deeper when we take away some of our blinders and really do show some of our vulnerability.
Thank you very much, Sister Guadalupe. I really like the idea that Synodality is a way to share stories, to share experience through rituals and symbols. This is another way also to experience.
Yes, I think we stay in our head too much, and I try to teach my students that. I try to teach them that we need to nurture imagination in our children and in our youth, because imagination frees us. It really frees us into a whole deeper world. I do a lot with ritual in my teaching. I am a catechist, so I'm always using, the symbols and the liturgical year and the time as a means of grace always. So I have a whole different way of being just being a person. And one of my moments was when I don't think I shared with you my own experience of when I was a novice director. One of our novices had asked me to sing a song at her liturgy. And about a week before that, I had emergency surgery in my left eye because my left retina was detaching. And it was really a very traumatic experience for me. So I couldn't find a song to sing for her ceremony. And that very day, I still didn't have a song. And I was feeling sorry for myself. The sisters had gone to the cemetery to visit our other sisters. I was all alone. I couldn't go because I couldn't be in the sun. And I started crying out to the Lord, what am I going to do? I have no song. I'm all here by myself. I really felt vulnerable. And I asked the Lord, give me a song. As the Spirit, give me a song. And in my own desperation, all of a sudden a melody started coming. And then with the melody, words just dropped out of my heart. And so when the sisters returned, I asked them, give me my guitar, I have a song. And I started writing it and putting the chords on it. And that afternoon, I was singing the song. And it's called Qué Bonito Es El Amor, How Beautiful Love Is. And it's the only song I have ever written because it came from the depths of desperation. So vulnerability can also bring creativity when you least expect it. And my song, we have made some CDs and DVD CDs of some of the songs that our sisters have written. And my song is used a lot for weddings and for birthdays, especially the 15-year-olds, the quinceañera, when they celebrate their birthday. And just, I'm amazed of how it has touched a lot of people. And that came from my own vulnerability. So life, there was a question here about how life comes, from a vulnerable experience. And I really needed to share that because I was blessed when I was vulnerable.
Thank you very much, Sister Guadalupe. We are blessed by listening to your story and the stories of your congregation. You choose the word challenge to express in one word the echo of the title of the assembly. So I think this is also full of energy to be challenged,
yes,
to make space to the Spirit and to new horizons and new ways.
Yes.
We are going to close this interview. Thank you very much. But I would like to ask you just to greet the sisters in Spanish.
I'll be happy to. Buenos días, hermanas. Es un privilegio para mí estar aquí en esta entrevista y les deseo un año muy feliz, lleno de gracia, de felicidad. Les agradezco todo lo que están haciendo aquí en nuestro país y en todos los países del mundo. Nosotros somos personas de luz y tenemos que compartir esa luz y que esa luz llegue a otros y que nosotros recibamos también más y más la luz de la esperanza. Dios las bendiga.